Hello everyone, Fred here. In this installment of TPP Dynamite, I'm going to be talking about why I think Cecil Stedman was 100% correct in Invincible Season 3, but also why there's a very major catch to the statement that he was correct. First things first though, if you haven't already, let me encourage you to subscribe to my channel. I post film, book, and TV series reviews. I do opinion pieces on entertainment, news, and affairs. I'm also an author of adult and young adult mystery novels. I recently released a new short mystery called The Intruder. There's a link to it in my video description below, and I encourage you to check it out as well. With that in mind, and without further ado, I'm going to just jump right into it. So I planned to release this video earlier this month after the first 3 episodes of Invincible Season 3 came out, because it's mostly a reaction to developments that occurred in those episodes. But I honestly think it hasn't lost any of its poignancy after the additional developments in episode 4, which is why I'm releasing it now anyway. Fans pretty much know since Invincible Season 1, they knew since then, that Cecil Stedman, the cold fish G-Man stereotype who leads the also stereotypical super secret government organization called the GDA, which is responsible for protecting the Earth from extraterrestrial, paranormal, and supernatural threats, as well as monitoring superpowered individuals and sponsoring the Guardians of the Globe, was secretly employing supervillains and murderers like D.A. Sinclair and Darkwing 2 to help the GDA create resources capable of protecting Earth from threats like Omni-Man. We saw Cecil recruit Darkwing 2, a crazy murderer, and start working on sonic technology to neutralize Mark if necessary by exploiting Viltrumite's inner ear weakness in Season 2. We saw him recruit D.A. Sinclair in Season 1. However, it was not until Season 3 that all those little developments effectively came to a head, when Mark himself realized in story what Cecil had been doing and confronted him, only to realize that Cecil had actually taken things even further by implanting a microscopic earpiece in Mark's skull so that Mark could effectively be neutralized at any time with the sonic technology. And that reveal has understandably led to quite a bit of fan debate regarding whether Cecil was right to do what he did, basically promising Debbie Grayson that there would be no more secrets or spying by the GDA on her family, but lying to her face about it, unilaterally deciding to employ murderers as superheroes versus executing them or sending them to prison, unilaterally deciding to employ mad scientists who conduct illegal human experimentation as government defense contractors. And anyone who looked at the literal title of this video knows which way I lean in that whole discussion, so I'll stop burying the lead and just say that I think Cecil was in the right on that score. One thing the world of Invincible does very well is presenting a solid image of how the world would look in a universe in which aliens and magic and the heights of both religious and science fiction existed. And it is and would be a downright scary place for plain old-fashioned human beings. Add to that the fact that Earth at the time of Invincible Season 3 is under the standing threat of Viltrumite invasion and has had no truly positive long-term experiences with any Viltrumite but Mark, whose own moral compass is on an eternal pendulum as he's constantly trying to figure out what it means to be a good person. And before anyone comments about this, I'm going to go ahead and say that I do not count Omni-Man's superhero career on Earth as a blanketly positive experience, in that it was all a cover to conquer Earth, and that he murdered probably as many people on his way out as he saved as a superhero. When you take all that together, I think almost anybody could agree with me that Cecil was right to take measures to develop means by which he could counter and neutralize any Viltrumite, even Mark, if the situation called for it. And I think almost anybody could agree with me that Cecil was right to take advantage of every asset that he could find in his war chest by utilizing talented supervillains in ways whereby which their talents could be exploited in the protection of Earth, while they were essentially punished for their crimes with enforced and unending servitude to the GDA. Protecting planet Earth in a world like that of Invincible requires being kind but also cautious, being willing to play the long game and take the long view of justice. It does not require being amoral, but it does require preparing for the possibility that any superpowered person, even one's closest allies, can either break bad or be controlled into doing bad. And it does require accepting that all evil can be punished, but that some evil must be punished differently than other evil, and that the date of that punishment may come later for some kinds of evil than for other kinds. That is effectively Cecil's grind, and that's why I do think his position was categorically right in Season 3. Now, and this is the big caveat that I referenced at the top of this video, Cecil's main problem is the way by which he went about justifying and enforcing his categorically right position, which was dead wrong. Cecil, simply put, is a control freak. Beyond that, he's the type of control freak who feels the need to enforce his control against anyone, friend or foe, who he doesn't believe respects it. And beyond that, he's the type of control freak who justifies his own arrogance and worst tendencies by citing the dangers of the universe as proof of his own fallacious case for a moral relativism that offers righteousness and security as diametrically opposed goals in a game where only one can be achieved. He completely overlooks the fact that the admitted dangers of the universe could probably still be controlled by someone in his position who was wise and cautious, but also just a little less full of himself. Because of course that's not who Cecil is. Not only does Cecil have to be the only one with the power to make final decisions on behalf of planet Earth, but everyone who works with him also must know it. There's no room for compassionate control with Cecil, or even for bringing his own allies and co-workers to the table in making those major decisions regarding, let's say, whether to deploy murderers as superheroes, or work with mad scientists as colleagues, or implant lethal fail-safe technology into the heads of his own teammates. Cecil has to be the only one to make those decisions, and more, once he does it, he has to put everyone, even his own people, on notice that he wields that sort of power over them all. And that kind of outlook is not only morally wrong and dangerously arrogant, but also tremendously stupid in how unlikely it is to win allies in the first place, and in how likely it is to end existing alliances by showing one's hand too soon and in a way that poisons any well of trust before it can be pumped. Probably the biggest example of that is the move Cecil pulls in Invincible Season 3, Episode 2, where he reveals to Mark that he implanted a device in his skull to take advantage of Viltrumite's inner ear weakness and uses that device just to literally mess with Mark's head in a demonstration that he probably could kill Mark if he wanted to. There was literally no need for Cecil to do that besides a desire to display dominance. Mark was not attacking Cecil, and Cecil probably could have talked Mark down from his position if he'd properly cited Mark's own complicated relationship with Omni-Man and Mark's own supposed killing of Angstrom Levy in Season 2. Showing off like Cecil did is the sort of move that I would not have pulled unless my literal life was in danger from Mark, unless he fell under enemy control, or unless he turned to the Viltrumite side. It's the same logic behind the statement money talks but wealth whispers. You don't always have to put everyone on notice of your superiority, and you don't always have to be right and prove that you're right. In fact, you tend to win more friends and influence more enemies when you admit that you can be wrong on occasion, and you can take the lower road on occasion. But Cecil can't do that, and because it's not just enough for Cecil to know he's not in danger, because his own psychology mandates that his enemies and even his allies must know it too, he naturally reveals his hand too soon and overplays it. And as a result, Cecil burns his very profitable alliance with Mark, who was until then acting as his largely obedient co-worker. Cecil causes half the Guardians of the Globe to quit, and Cecil makes Mark angry enough to threaten to kill him if he ever goes near Mark's family again. So yeah, Cecil has the right kind of outlook for a representative of planet Earth in the Invincible universe, but he's dead wrong in the unapologetically Machiavellian way by which he goes about justifying and enforcing his approach to realizing that outlook. In many ways, Cecil is similar in that regard to Batman, who famously created secret files containing measures by which to neutralize every member of the Justice League. That plot point was played up in numerous DC Comics storylines, but was best executed in the Tower of Babel storyline, wherein supervillains stole and abused Batman's files to attempt murdering the Justice League, and later on, when Batman was presented with the problem that his own actions had created, he refused to just own it, and instead resigned from the Justice League without so much as an apology. And I'm not trying to do a Batman deep dive in the Cecil video here, but I am trying to draw a comparison to spotlight just how Cecil is both right and wrong. Batman was both correct and brilliant in doing what he did, given how many times the Justice League's members have been mind controlled or possessed, or have even just made poor decisions with global consequences over the years. Only a fool would work with them without devising means by which to neutralize them in a worst case scenario. But the problem arises when the person who does it is too arrogant to admit that he too needs to be checked and balanced, that he too can make mistakes, and that he too should at the very least both apologize when he does make those mistakes and admit that he does not deserve the right to unilaterally decide what's best for everyone because he too is fallible. So yeah, Cecil is right in Invincible Season 3, but the catch is that he's wrong too. But as always, that's just my opinion. Time for you to share yours. Sound off in the comments below to tell me what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Are your feelings more complex? Meanwhile, if you like this video and made it this far, don't forget to leave a like, click subscribe, ring that bell, and hey, follow me on social media as well. So long.